Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video, and today I'm working on more photos from the city of Bruges in Belgium, and both my daughter and I are featured here, and then I also have just some random pics from around town that they didn't really fit anywhere else, but I really like them, so I want to showcase them. So I mean, look at this gorgeous building. And that's kind of how Bruges was. You just turn a corner and you find some unexpected architectural wonder. That's the best way I can describe that city. And then this one I loved because check out the doors. Look at the windows that are in them. They're just so beautifully done. And then these lovely arches. They even decorated on top. I mean, look at the whole building. The architecture is just amazing. So clearly this is a little more modern than this, but I loved it all. So I want to feature it. Now, because this is a 6x12, I actually have 2 empty spots that I need to fill here. I could do journaling on one of them, but I don't feel like I need it because I'm going to have journaling on a lot of other layouts for Bruges. So I would be willing to also just take some cards that maybe had large phrases on them, or maybe even, well, I was going to say maybe even just a large heart. That, I don't know. I'd have to really, really like the color scheme or something, but you get the idea. So I've also been using this chipboard sheet from Echo Park quite a bit. You can see I've used multiple things here, and I was looking at what we're wearing, and we have a nice mix of color here. There's lots of greens and then my navy, but there's also a lighter blue, and brown is kind of always a good color. It's a neutral because Europe is old world, so there's going to be lots of brown tones happening, and all of those are represented here. And I'm kind of looking at these thinking I might like to use this one, maybe with a background, and then just put it here. But I also like this one that says collect moments, not things, because that's perfect for what was happening, especially on this day when we were seeing all of these beautiful things. It's not like we were doing strenuous activity and stuff. We were just walking around, essentially looking at things and learning history. So we were collecting moments. So I feel like that's really appropriate for this. So I think I have found a card for this left-hand pocket here. I like it that it just says the story, but then I'm not actually going to write out a story. I'm going to use a piece of that chipboard to tell the story instead. And it's brown and gray, which is perfect. I didn't really find anything for here easily in the bin of stuff that I had. So I've decided to pull out my green scraps. This is how I keep them, and build something of my own. So I can have the green background, and then I want to use this tag, and I think I'm going to take off the bottom. I can save that and use that for something else, but it doesn't really go with what I want, but this top portion certainly does. And then I do have some rhinestones. I have some larger brads still in my stash that I can use to fill this, because I realized like, oh, I could put twine in there. I realized the only twine I have right now really that's left and in decent condition is like a yellow and white stripe, which doesn't go with this at all. So I'm going to take these out here. And I want this one. Oh, good. These broke apart quite easily. And then I want that one. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of Echo Park, especially like in the last year, maybe 18 months. I've really been loving the designs they're bringing out. Do you like them as a manufacturer? My only complaint is like, even with these, a lot of their stuff tends to have more of a vintage feel, I guess you'd say, a little more grungy, vintagey. Normally that is not my style at all. I much prefer like a clean graphic look. However, when I'm doing old world Europe, that really fits the bill. But like, they also brought out this super cute zoo line recently that I freaking loved and had to buy a ton of the stuff from that line. So, you know, they just put out good quality product. I do want to show that these particular pieces of chipboard, they are not self-adhesive, so you will have to do that. You can use glue dots, but because this has this kind of cardboard chipboard backing on it, if you don't get those where you want and try to lift them up, it will rip this. So I have learned just use my mono liquid glue and it works a lot better. So I'm just going to kind of center this maybe like so. Push down a little, make sure it's gonna stay nicely. And let's make sure I get it straight. That's pretty good. First try, pretty good. All right. Now, in looking at that already, I'm thinking I probably need something else, and I'm thinking blue. I do have some light blue washi choices that are very, very narrow, so I think I'm going to grab those and add a piece of that up top. All right, there we have it with the washi added, and that is definitely better. And I didn't want to go the dark blue because I already had that. I was trying to match more of the sky peeking through, and I'm happy with that choice. I think it just adds some nice visual interest. And this washi, like, there wasn't a whole lot for me left to fold over, and it's being picky and doesn't want to stay very well. So I am actually just going to do this, put a staple in that makes it look like it goes through both of those, and it'll be fine. So now that card is done, which is great. Now I can start building this one. All right, I have two options to use for this chipboard to build a card. And the first one I have is this chunk, and I went with more of an olive green because it matches the trees. It also matches the shirt that my child is wearing, which is, you know, a little more olive tone. It's not the same as this. This is much more like a hunter green, but I feel like there's so much going on color-wise here. I could get away with it. Like, it would still work and be fine, and that's how they would look together. It's actually a very good match with this right here, so I do like that. However, because this background doesn't really have a pattern, it's a lot of white, and there's just a little pattern here, I feel like maybe I could also get away with a pattern background here. It's subtle, right? It's just kind of a diamond pattern. And then this side is actually the way the paper is made, it kind of fades out there, which helps the aesthetic, I think. And then that would be on there, and I do really like that. So I'm torn. Excuse me. I'm still recovering from bronchitis. I have had this for just over a month now. I don't have a functioning immune system, so I get everything, or I have to be careful that I don't. And then when I do get things, like, it takes me forever to get rid of them. This is why COVID was such a concern for me. But this thing is like lingering. I have been on antibiotics, I've been on cough suppressant, all the things, and still it's hanging around. So I apologize for the quality of my voice and if I burst into random coughing. I've decided that I like the patterned background. So if you were rooting for that one, excuse me, great. If you liked this one better, sorry. But you know what? This is kind of a neutral almost when it comes to stuff like this. So you'll probably see that at some point. And I will say I am kind of a sucker for a nice, subtly patterned cardstock. I tend to have a lot of that. So you won't see many like super bold patterns from me. But a pattern like this, yes, every day of the week, I will buy that. So I'm just going to put it, I think, pretty much right in the center, because then I don't have to do much else with it. And then really, I think the only other thing I need is I have to figure out what's going to go in there. And then if I'm looking kind of like for a visual triangle, maybe something up here. But it's so busy, I'm not even quite sure like how I would do that. Okay, so I've decided to go rhinestone. I have those out, and I decided to just go clear because there is so much color happening. And in order to make sure this is as easy as possible and doesn't get everywhere, I just decided to put the glue down first, and I'm just going to drop in the rhinestone because it fits pretty perfectly in that space. And I can see like I probably used a little too much glue, but this dries clear. So when it's dry, it won't matter. Nobody will notice it. So I think that works out perfectly. Well, I have to say, sometimes I just get lucky and things work out pretty easily. And for this photo, I was like, what else can I do there? I don't want to do a lot to distract from this because it's quite busy. And look to my left, and on my desk, I always keep a pile of labels like this where when I use only part of them, I just throw them in the pile because I could use them for something else. This one happened to be sitting there. And it's not the same green as the others, but if I'm already working with multiple tones of green, it doesn't bother me to use that. So I think I'm going to. And I don't think I'm going to do anything with it at all. I think I'm just going to put it on there, put a staple on, and just use it totally for aesthetic purposes. Because it's kind of a small space. I mean, I could maybe stamp a tiny little word in there, but frankly, I don't want to. I'm going to keep it simple. So I'm just going to do that. Bring in that color scheme. And then I should note the particular page protector style that I'm using is from Close to My Heart. For this style of page protector, they open in the middle, not top, not bottom, nothing weird like that, but in the middle. And so if you're not prepared for that when you get these, it can be a little like, oh my gosh, I've never worked with those before. Now that I've had these a while, I'm used to it. But at first it was a little bit like, that feels weird that I'm sliding these in from the side and not the top. But I feel like they move around less this way. And so I do appreciate that, especially if you're flipping a lot through the album. These do seem to keep the pockets a little bit more secure. All right, with all that said, I think this one is done. So I didn't do anything, earth shattering, but I love the look of it. And then I got to mix in so many colors. So here's another one done for Belgium. Thanks for watching.